area. There are no evangelical churches that serve this area of about 10,000 people. And so they have chosen to move into this area to make a positive difference in this community. So what you're seeing here is this is going to be their church. They're in this retail center. It's on the second floor. And so we were doing quite a bit of demolition and then starting the process of building up very much like this, a worship center in the center of the building, and then on the outsides we're going to be children's rooms. And we got the right guys. I will tell you, we had some construction guys. Joe was one of those. I think the biggest challenge that we had was switching from imperial measurements to metric measurements, especially for the guys that knew what they were doing. No, this door has to be 6-7 feet tall, and they would give it in millimeters, 7 feet tall, whatever it is. I don't know. What'd you say? Oh, they're making fun of me because I said 6. I said 6 or 7 feet tall. Okay, 7 feet tall. This is a pile of metal we had to move. So we would make a big mess, and then we would look for who was going to clean it up, and they would look at us and say, you made the mess, you clean it up. So we would have to haul these sheets of drywall and metal and wood down these stairs, and in true American ingenuity, we decided to build a ramp down these 2 flights, and the Romanians were like, wow, why didn't we think of that? They had carried 2,000 bags of trash down these stairs, and I think one of the guys, Mark, said the best way to get work done is to ask a lazy person to do it, which means ask an American to do it, apparently. So we would take it out to this truck. You see this truck here, and the guy who is in that truck there, he got all of that drywall in that little truck. We nicknamed him Tetris because that's what he did. So now you're starting to see some of the construction that we were doing. You can see some drywall we hauled up, the metal studs. You can see that wall going up there. That's really what we were doing. We were taking stuff down, building stuff up. Yes, there's a spiritual lesson there. We had to get one picture of Dave doing some work. No, I tell you what, everyone did a lot of hard work, but we also had some fun. We got to see a little bit of the city. We had like half a day where we got to go tour things. We didn't go see Dracula's castle or anything like that on this trip, but we got to see the heart of Bucharest and this community, which has gone through quite a bit. That's where we stayed, actually. That was the apartments where we stayed. That's people walking very fast. That video sped up. They were not walking that fast. We got to go to a mall. I haven't been to a mall in forever. And they had Burger King. This is a quick, we're taking the ceiling down. But they had Burger King and Taco Bell and McDonald's and everything that we have here. So most of the people got that stuff to see how it compared. And the answer is it's just as bad there as it is here. Actually, the chicken nuggets were better, right? You guys had the chicken nuggets? They said the chicken nuggets were better. Probably because they actually have chicken. Yeah, so we pulled a lot of roof down. Here's the funny thing about that rubble that you see there. You're going to see a picture there. Yeah, she's not a superhero. That stuff was like composite. It had so it wasn't very heavy is what I'm trying to say. But we were taking ceilings down, and I won't even tell you what's on the top of that particular ceiling, but just say we might have got the bird flu from it. Again, there's Tetris guy with all the wood. Insulation, that's Mark, scared to death of the scaffolding there. And I don't know why he would be scared of the scaffolding, but you'll see a picture coming up in a second about exactly why you should be scared. There it is. Yeah, we can't find a wheel? We'll make one, no big deal. Now, to be fair, that wasn't the Romanians, that was us. Again, you get to have some fun, you make a ramp, you got to go down the ramp, right? This was the slow version, and this is the fast version. Notice the quick stop at the end. We did have a lot of fun, got to hang out with Romanians every day. They would bring some of their team in, some of the church in, to do some work with us, and they brought us food. We ate very well. And we told the team, one of the things is work is not as important as building relationships with the people that you're coming to serve. So we tried to do that. Stacy found her new favorite tool in the entire world. There it is. Don't try and take that away from you, or you might lose a limb from her. You might lose a limb. Okay, I think we're coming to a close here, but you can start to see there in some of those pictures some of the rooms that we were building up. It's a funny thing, the classroom for the kids were pretty large size, about the same size as ours. The classroom for the children, for the pastor, was this little bitty corner. I said, okay, that's appropriate. Again, here you can see the end of it. All right, so you can close that down. They did a lot of work. There's a lot more work to come. So thank you to everyone who went, and for those of you who buy burritos, and so that we can go. We got another trip coming up in March to Armenia. So it's a very different trip. There won't be any construction there. So if you're interested in going on that, please come see me. We're going to talk about that more in the coming weeks, because March will be here before you know it. Can you believe it's November? Yeah, we are like 7 weeks away from Christmas, if you can believe that. All right, grab your Bibles. We're in Genesis chapter 33. And while you're getting there, let me ask you, how many of you have had the ultimate pleasure and, may I even say, joy of going to one of your high school reunions? Yes. Yeah? How many of you have been to your 10-year reunion, 20-year reunion, 40-year reunion, 50-year reunion, 60? Okay, we got 50-year reunion. That's awesome. How do you feel about, like that first one especially, how do you feel about going to your high school reunion? Awesome? That's good. We have this kind of in our cultural zeitgeist, this idea that going to your high school reunion is full of angst and trepidation, right? Because you're worried about, have people changed? Have I changed? And you lose touch with the people that you hung out with. And there's this question mark of, I haven't seen these people for a decade or maybe 2 decades or 5 decades. What are they like? And do we even have anything in common anymore? I went to my 20-year high school reunion. And while I was in high school, there was a great gang of about 6 of us. I say gang, it was just a group of 6 teenagers who thought they knew everything, right? We were inseparable in high school, and then we graduated, and everything changed. If it wasn't for Facebook, I couldn't tell you where any of them are today. Now, we stay loosely in touch over Facebook, and so as we got closer and closer to the high school reunion, I had a little bit of anxiety. Am I going to reconnect with them? How much have they changed? How much have I changed, right? There was some anxiety over that. Now, it turns out there was no reason to be anxious. You know what happens when 6 people who used to hang out all the time in high school get together in their 20s and 30s? They have a whole lot of fun. And they talk about their families and the things that are going on in their lives now, and you kind of pick right up. Have they changed? Yeah, they have. Some of them have less hair than they used to, right? They all have figured out that they don't know anything like they thought they knew. I've changed. They've changed. But it turns out there was nothing to worry about. We reconnected, and it was great. And since then, we made the commitment. We all do this. We're going to stay together, and we're going to get together more often. No, we didn't. I haven't seen them since, I'll tell you that. And mostly because I haven't been to the next reunion, because I never am on Facebook to see when it's coming up. But there was also some anxiety around our entire class for that first high school reunion. Because we had a buddy, a friend, one of the popular kids, right? Anyone know those popular kids? He said it was him. Now we all hate you. No, I know. Yeah. It was John said that? Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to see you both after class. We'll get to the end. We had one guy, and this really was a tragedy, right after high school, was convicted of committing murder in downtown Denver. He killed a homeless man, he and a buddy of his, tragic story. Was convicted, went to prison, and just as it turned out, around our 20-year anniversary, he was let out of prison and told everyone he was coming to our high school reunion. And everyone was freaking out, because you're like, what do you say? So what have you been up to the last 20 years? It's an awkward situation. You know he was guilty. He admitted that he was guilty. He did the thing. Do you bring it up? Do you not bring it up? What do you do? There's all this anxiety and apprehension around that reunion. And I'll tell you, it was weird. It was weird to see him acting like everything was normal. And I tell you all of that to set the stage for our story this morning, because our story this morning is about a reunion between Jacob and Esau. And this is immediately after, and I mean immediately after, Jacob has an encounter with God. He's wrestling with God, and he's a changed man. But how long has Jacob been a changed man? Like 2 seconds. I mean, he finishes this encounter, this wrestling with God. God tells him, you're no longer Jacob, you're Israel, and everything's going to be different for you. And he looks up and he sees Esau coming. So we're talking, this is seconds old. Now, not only is Esau coming over the ridge, who's Esau got with him? A whole bunch of men. Verse 1, Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming with his 400 men. Now, I want to pause just for a second and make sure we understand the full import of what's going on here. How long has it been since Jacob has seen Esau? It's 20 years. And the last time he saw Esau, what were the circumstances? Do you remember? Yeah, Esau wanted to kill him because Jacob had stolen his blessing from his father. Right? Jacob, at his mother's behest, has dressed up like his brother and brought his father some food. And he lies to his dad because his dad's like, I don't think you're Esau. I think you might be Jacob. Who are you? He's like, no. I'm Esau. And so he gives Jacob Esau's blessing and birthright. And so now Jacob has stolen his brother's birthright and his blessing. And Esau does not take it well. He comes back and he's like, you have got to be kidding me. And he tells Jacob and everyone around, as soon as my father dies, Jacob dies. I'm going to kill my brother. That's the last thing Jacob knows about his brother, because his mother takes that threat seriously and tells him, you got to get out of Dodge, man. And so he goes and spends 20 years with his uncle Laban and all the histrionics, everything going on there. Jacob's life is full of these challenges and problems, many of them of his own making. So you can imagine in this moment, right? He's had this mountaintop moment with God, and he looks over the horizon, and here comes Esau with 400 men. What's going through Jacob's head? Yeah. Bum, bum, bum. Probably hearing the Darth Vader music from Star Wars, right? How's that song go? Bum, bum, ba-dun, dun, 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 dun. Right? Here's Esau coming, and he's got 400 men. What does he assume those 400 men are for? To kill him and everybody he knows. But he's just had this moment with God. And that's important, because when Jacob comes up against something like this, right? He's got a real problem, a challenge in life. What does Jacob normally do? He runs. And he's just had this moment with God. And God's like, let's test and see how changed you really are. Here comes Esau over the ridge with 400 men. So what's going to happen? Because he knows. Esau said, the next time I see you, you're a dead man. And that time is now. So you can imagine all the tension and the anxiety wrapped up in this moment. And while Jacob's natural instinct is to run, that's not what he does this time. He goes about this completely, all different, all right? So let's pick it up. So the next, he sees the 400 men. So Jacob divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and his 2 servant wives. Now, even in this moment, you can think, well, you know, Jacob had already said, I'm going to divide my family into 2 groups so that if Esau kills one, maybe the other will be able to get away. He's not doing that now. He's putting them all together. He said, but he does organize them. He put the servant wives and their children at the front, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last. What order has he put them in? Yeah, the order of his importance. How much he loves them. That's the order that they're in. Right? Then Jacob went on ahead. This is the miracle. Jacob normally would have said, you guys go first and see how it goes. He probably won't kill you. But if he does, then I'll have a chance to get away. But Jacob does something different. He goes on ahead, and as he approaches his brother, he bows to the ground 7 times before him. So he is approaching Esau with a posture of humility. And it's important when we read this, I mean, when you read it, it doesn't sound great, but sound weird. But when you think about it, it kind of sounds weird, right? That's only 3. And you're already laughing, right? Here's actually how it went. It wasn't just a bow, but let's say there's a distance between I'm Jacob and Esau's over here. You get to play Esau today. Please don't kill me. All right. By the way, he's on the security team, so he could. Hey, here's the thing. Jacob had to kind of guess the distance because every time he bowed, and this was part of their culture, he would actually take 1 step forward and stand up. And then he would bow again, and he would take a step forward. And he would bow again, and he would take a step forward, a total of 7 times. And you would do this when you were approaching a king or someone of great stature to show them how much you revered them and how much you put them on a pedestal. And that's what Jacob is doing to Esau. Well, that's a completely different change of posture, isn't it? He's coming to him with this sense of humility. Now, we would say, yeah, but maybe he's doing that because he's terrified. Yeah, that's probably why he's doing it. He's expecting the worst in this situation, and so he's doing everything he can to let Esau know, I understand, and I'm putting you in a position that I never have put you in before. And let's see what he gets. Because he doesn't get what he expects, does he? Verse 4, then Esau ran to meet him and embraced him, threw his arms around his neck and kissed him, and they both wept. Well, that's weird. You're expecting your brother to come out and kill you. Now, in that first second, what's Jacob probably thinking? Oh, here it comes. All right, my brother's running out. He's running to meet me. But instead of drawing a sword, what does he do? Throws his arms around his neck, and he embraces him, and he kisses him, and they both weep. In this moment, all the tension evaporates, and there's healing and restoration in this one moment, and it's all Esau's doing, by the way. Because Esau had said, I'm going to kill you, but in this moment, what does Esau do? He gives him a gift of grace and forgiveness. In fact, the next thing he does is, I mean, when you haven't seen someone in a long time, you haven't seen cousins in a long time, what's the first thing you do? Yeah, okay, that's this moment. So maybe what's the second thing you do? Yeah, you catch up. What's going on? And that's exactly what Esau does. Then Esau looked at the women and children and asked, who are these people with you? And Jacob says, these are the children God has graciously given to me, your servant, Jacob replied. Then the servant wives came forward with their children and bowed before him. Next came Leah with her children, and they bowed before him. Finally, Joseph and Rachel came forward and bowed before him. So he's introducing the family, right? And then Esau says, and what about all these flocks and herds I met as I came? Esau said. And Jacob replied, they are a gift, my lord, to ensure your friendship. My brother, I have plenty, Esau answered. Keep what you have for yourself. And I want you to look at the difference in how they're referring to one another. How is Jacob talking about himself and his brother? I am your servant, my Lord. Right? He's giving him more of he's continuing this respect conversation. Right? He's bowed. Sometimes he's physically showing him respect. Now he's verbally showing him respect. I'm your servant. You're my Lord. But what does Esau call him? My brother. You're my brother. He said, I have plenty. I don't need the stuff that you have. Keep what you have for yourself. But Jacob insisted. No, I have found favor. If I have found favor with you, please accept this gift from me. And what a relief to see your friendly smile. It is like seeing the face of God. Where have we heard that before, by the way? Just moments ago, That's exactly what Jacob says after wrestling with God. He says, I have seen the face of God and lived. And now he sees his brother and his brother's grace and forgiveness and friendliness and warmth. And he says again, I've seen the face of God. Please take this gift I have brought you, for God has been very gracious to me. I have more than enough. And because Jacob insisted, Esau finally accepted the gift. And this is important. This is part of Jacob's process of reconciling with his brother. He's showing physical reverence for his brother in the bowing. He's showing verbal reverence for his brother. And this gift is like the final act. Why is it so important to Jacob that Esau accept this gift? Because he's trying to pay restitution for what he had done to his brother 20 years ago. He'd stolen the blessing and gift from his father, and now he's trying in his own way now to repay it. But if it's not accepted, what does that say? Then his brother is not really accepting him. We even get that in our own culture, right? You give someone a gift and they just toss it over their shoulder. How's that feel? So he's insisting that his brother, taking his brother's like, fine, I'll take it, which is another act of grace and forgiveness. He's saying to his brother, look, I've got everything that I need, but I will take this and I'm extending grace to you. And now I got to tell you, the story gets a little weird. So, I mean, what should happen now, right? So they're standing there and they've done the hugging and the kissing and the weeping and the getting to know one another and the gift exchanges happen, and now they're standing there. Okay, well now, what do we do now? Right? Party? Man, that'd be awesome, right? Well, look at verse 12. Well, Esau said, let's be going. I'll lead the way. What's Esau saying? You came to see me. Let's go. In fact, I want to show you a map of exactly what's happened here. So at this point, Jacob has come from Haran all the way north. Esau has come from all the way south in Edom, Seir. No arrow yet. No arrows yet. You're getting ahead of me. All right. So they're meeting where the circle is in Peniel. That's where Jacob wrestled with God. And Esau comes up over the horizon. That's where they're standing right now. And Jacob has come all this way to do what? Not to see his brother. That's not why he came. Why did he come? He wants to make a life for himself, right? He's told Laban, it's time for me to get away and get on about doing what God has called me to do. But Esau assumes that his brother is ready to come south, right? And so he says, let's go, I'll lead the way. But Jacob replies, you can see, my Lord, again, that some of the children are very young and the flocks and herds have their young too. If they're driven too hard, even for one day, all the animals could die. Please, my Lord, go ahead of your servant. We will follow slowly at a pace that is comfortable for the livestock and the children, and I will meet you at Seir. So what is Jacob saying? Look, you go ahead, and we'll be behind you, because we're going to be slower. We got kids, we got animals. You know how it goes, man. So we're slower. There's going to be potty breaks along the way, right? So you go ahead, and we'll catch up. Esau's like, all right, verse 15, but at least let me assign some of my men to guide and protect you. Right? So, by the way, what were the 400 men there for? Not to do battle. What were they there for? Protection. They're there. Esau has brought them for Jacob's good. All right? And he says, well, at least let me assign some of my men to guide you and protect you home. And Jacob responds, that's not necessary. It's enough that you have received me warmly, my Lord. So Esau turned around and started back to Seir that same day. That's the first arrow. All right? So Esau's like, okay, cool. I'm headed south, right? And in his mind, what does he assume Jacob's doing? He's going to follow him. Why would he assume that? That's what Jacob said. Verse 17, Jacob, on the other hand, traveled to Succoth. Now, you know, okay, big deal. Well, let me show you where Succoth is. It's that way. It's west. Esau's going south. And Jacob, who says, yeah, we're right behind you, takes a right-hand turn instead. Uh-oh. And by the way, he lands in Succoth, which is, you can kind of see that little dot there. Right? That's his first little stop. And then the story goes on. There he built himself a house and made shelters for his livestock. That's why the place was named Succoth, which means shelters. Later, having traveled all the way from Padan Aram, Jacob arrived safely at the town of Shechem in the land of Canaan, and there he set up camp outside the town. Jacob bought the plot of land where he camped from the family of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 pieces of silver, and there he built an altar and named it El Elohe Israel. So not only does he go to Succoth, he keeps going to Shechem. What's going on? Is Jacob pulling his old tricks? I thought Jacob was a changed man. What is happening here? A couple things going on, and it's important that here's what I want to tell you. When I first read this, I'm like, man, Jacob, you're such a scumbag. Just when we think you've changed and turned a corner, you go and do this, you lie to your brother again. But I want to tell you, most theologians and historians don't think that's actually what's happening here. In fact, most people think one of two things are possible. Well, one of three things are possible. The first thing that is possible is that Jacob is just following his old ways. But remember, what was Jacob coming here to do? Was he on a journey to see his brother Esau? No, that's not what his original intent was. He was going to build a land for himself, right? And he's got God's promise on hand. God has promised him, I'm going to give you land in the promised land, and your people are going to grow there, the people of Israel. I mean, he just had his name changed, right? And so, is Israel the promised land south in Edom? Nope. Where is the promised land? West. So what is Jacob actually doing here? Yeah, he's doing what God has led him to do. He's going where God has told him to go. Well, that's not a bad thing, right? Now, you and I would say, no, that's true. But he still lied to his brother. Most people think he probably didn't. And there's a couple of ways we get there. Number one is there's this idea that there was probably an unspoken silent agreement between Jacob and Esau in this moment, where Jacob says, yeah, I'm right behind you, dude. Gotcha. And Esau says, well, take some of my men. And in telling Esau that he did not want his men to come with him, he was really culturally saying, I ain't coming. I'm not coming. And that Esau understood that. I mean, Esau doesn't get angry, right? In fact, the next time we see Esau, which by the way is 27 years from now, I mean, these brothers do not stay in touch. It's worse than high school reunion, right? Yeah, they don't have Facebook back then. But the next time they see each other, Esau's not angry. He's not upset with his brother. Here's what I think is more likely going on, and we always got to remember this. This is Eastern literature. In Western literature, we want to know every little detail. And if the detail's not there, we assume it didn't happen. Most theologians and historians believe there probably was there could have been a conversation between Jacob and Esau that's just not recorded here. And why isn't it recorded here? Because it's not important to the story. It's not important to what the author is really trying to tell us. What the author is trying to tell us is Jacob didn't go south because that's not where God wanted him to be. God wanted him to be exactly where he landed. And what happens there is important because it shows again Jacob's character has changed. When he gets to the land of Canaan, what does he do? He does two things. He buys a piece of property, right? So now he has ownership. He has a stake in this land. For 100 pieces of silver, he owns land in the promised land. In what will soon become Israel. He's saying, this is God. God has given me this, and he's putting down roots. He's all in on God's plan. If you buy property, you're in, right? But more importantly than all of that, what's the second thing he does? He builds an altar. and he worships God. And he calls that altar El Elohi Israel, which means God is the God of Israel. Now, when we read that, what do we hear? When you hear that, God is the God of Israel, what do you hear? God is the God of what? The nation Israel, right? We hear Israel and we think the nation of Israel. But that's not what Jacob is saying. What's Jacob saying? God is the God of Israel. Because God had just changed his name from Jacob to Israel. God had told him, your name is now Israel. And he's saying, God is my God. Is Jacob changed? Yeah, he's finally starting to figure it out. I'm getting on God's train, not my train. His train probably would have sent him what direction? South. That's the easy road, right? God says, I got a plan and a promise for you, and I want you to live this out. Now, before you get all excited and think, well, all the problems for Jacob are gone, yeah, hang on until next week, all right? The problems are not over. Jacob is not a perfect guy. But there are some important lessons for us in this story. 2 key lessons. Number 1 is we're to follow this model of reconciliation. And I want you to think about this on 2 counts. Number 1, when we are seeking reconciliation, think about this. Is there anyone in your life who you are estranged from? Maybe things have gone really bad between you and someone and you're holding a grudge. And now you're thinking, Pastor, you did not give us a heads up that this was going to get personal and be about me. Up until now, this is about Jacob and his poor decisions, not mine. Can you think of anyone in your life who you should be reconciled with? What usually keeps us from being reconciled with someone? Our pride. How does Jacob approach Esau? With pride? With humility. And at some point, we face this in our lives. And what I want to encourage us to do is do what Jacob did and this may be the only time I tell you to do what Jacob did, by the way. Jacob is usually a lesson in don't do what Jacob did, but this is a moment where you can embrace what Jacob did. He took the initiative, and he came with humility to his brother. And by the way, Scripture tells us to do this. Jesus in Matthew 5:23-24 says, if you are presenting a sacrifice at the altar in the temple and you suddenly remember that someone has something against you, what should you do? You should pray God to destroy them for the way that they've treated you. What does it say you should do? Get up, go and be reconciled to that person, then come and offer your sacrifice to God. We are encouraged by Jesus, and I hate this passage, by the way. It says if you're about God's business even if you're about God's business, and there's a problem between you and somebody else, you need to go fix that. And do it with humility. All right, so that's when we are seeking restitution with somebody else. And by the way, that's a terrifying moment, isn't it? Because what could happen? They could reject you. They could have their 400 men ready to cut your head off. And by the way, have you ever told that story, that reconciliation, you've run through that before anything ever happens, conversation you're going to have with your boss or with a coworker or someone you hate? That conversation never goes the way we think it is it? But here's the second thing. What about when others seek reconciliation with you? What should you do? What if someone comes to you and says, look, we've got this problem and I'd like to reconcile it? What does our pride tell us to do? No, you haven't suffered enough yet. You need to suffer a little more, right? Now, we should do exactly what Esau did and offer the gift of grace and forgiveness. In fact, this is one of the most terrifying aspects of the New Testament scriptures. Colossians 3:12-13, and this isn't the only time this shows up. Since God chose you to be the holy people he loves, you must clothe yourselves with tenderhearted mercy, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Make allowance for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others. And there's other passages of Scripture where Jesus says, if you don't forgive them, God will not forgive you. What? That's not right. God always forgives. Just take it as it is. I didn't write it. All right, so number one is follow this model of reconciliation. I got 3 minutes to wrap up. Actually, I got minus 15, but you're going to forgive me because you have to, because we just talked about that. So the first thing is follow this model of reconciliation, and the second thing is do what Jacob did here at the end and worship God. Thank Him, give Him honor and glory for, number one, reconciling us with others. He's the one that enables our reconciliation with one another, right? And the second thing is thank Him for doing all of this on our behalf. Reconciling us not just with one another, but the most important reconciliation is with us and God. And He did all of this for us. Philippians 2 says, you must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had. Though He was God, He did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. Instead, He gave up His divine privileges. He took the humble position, the what? Humble position of a slave, and was born as a human being. And then when He appeared in human form, He humbled Himself in obedience to God and died a criminal's death on the cross. And He bridged the gap. He reconciled us to God. And we should worship and honor and glorify Him for it. That's what communion's all about. That's what Sunday is all about, is worshiping and glorifying the God who reconciled us to Himself and enables us to be reconciled to one another. Let's pray. Father, thank You for this example that You give us out of Genesis 33. Maybe one of the few times we can follow Jacob's example, and we're thankful for that. Father, I know that there are people in this room, relationships that are broken, that need to be mended and fixed. And I just pray that in those cases You'll help us to follow this model, Jacob's model, but ultimately Your model. Our relationship with You was broken, and You came humbly to us and reconciled us to Yourself. And we are thankful for that. And I pray that You'll help us to do the same in our own lives, no matter how hard it is, to put aside our pride and to humbly bow before You and before those who we have hurt, and seek reconciliation, and help us to offer grace and forgiveness just as You offered us grace and forgiveness. And Father, I pray for the rest of this day as we spend some time together, eating, fellowshipping with one another, may it be honoring and glorifying to You. And all God's people said, Amen. All right, we got a few more things coming up. Who's up next? Jake? Is it Jack up? Where's Jake? I lost him. Who's up now? Jack. All right. Let's give Jack a round of applause. He's going to come share some things with you. Yep. You're on.
Mic on? Good.
Yep.
Kind of reminded me of who's on first or second, right? I am Jack Schuler. I am part of the Pinecrest Leadership Council and have the pleasure of leading that group for the past year or so. So I do have a few announcements, and boy, did you guys ever participate in the chili cook-off. I don't know if you've seen the spread out here, and so I hope you're hungry, but again, thank you so much for your participation with the chili cook-off and bringing so many items that our congregation will get to enjoy in a little bit. I also want to mention that when I get finished, Janet Hildebrandt going to be up here to talk to you a little bit about how the process is going to work for our chili cook-off and how we're going to do it. And since we're on the subject of food, everybody's favorite subject, at least one of mine, I want to talk about Mary and Irene and what they do for the Pinecrest leadership, or what they do for the Pinecrest Church and so many members of our community. I know most of you probably know Mary, and she's standing at the back of the room right now with Irene, but she runs our food pantry, and our food pantry is through these doors, just over here, to my right, your left, and we're going to have a pantry open house today because a lot of people in our church don't know what Mary does or how we stock that. And again, on the subject of food, I know that many of you contributed many items recently to the food pantry, and we have gone through most of it. So I just want to tell you what the business is. We served 24 families last week. Just 24 families. That was. We also opened up a satellite pantry at the Murphy Creek School, where we served an additional 20 families that attended that particular event. So 44 families this last week, Pinecrest has served for their benefit, but thanks to you, we were able to do it. I'm asking you, and Mary's asking you to keep up the great effort of helping the food pantry continue its mission. Thank you. So far, we've got about 30 people that are coming in for Thanksgiving. So we're not sure where that number is going to end up, but you can tell our numbers are going up with respect to the food pantry, and probably has to do a little bit about what's going on in the economy today. So it is really important if you can contribute and find it in your heart to bring in some additional items that Mary might need. There are items that are needed. They're on a flyer that's actually out front on the lobby on the little round table on the right. So if you're kind enough to do it, that's the items that we need. Thank you for your continued efforts in that effort. One final note, if anyone needs or helps or knows of anyone in need, you know who to contact. You contact Mary, you contact Irene, we will help them. Mary assembles her team during the week. She spends most of the week, especially Thursdays, with a small team of people getting all of the information and food ready to go out on Friday and other days during the week. So again, thank you, Mary and Irene, for what you do for Pinecrest, and thank you to the membership for what you do to make that possible. All right? All the men in the audience, I want to bring up a subject that we're going to have an opportunity to get together. We have a men's retreat coming up later in the month of November. November the 19th is going to be the last day to sign up for this. It's going to be held at the Ponderosa Retreat Center, which is really close by. It's just in Larkspur. It's going to be on November the 14th through the 16th. So I don't think the 19th was right, but if Jake's in here, yeah. I know somebody was fact-checking me on that, right? So I know we have the event that's coming up on the 14th through the 16th. It's an opportunity for the men in the group here to be able to get together and spend a weekend, 2.5 days of fellowship. What's included is dinner on Friday, breakfast and dinner on Saturday, breakfast on Sunday. Obviously, there will be worship sessions and some powerful teaching going on at that men's retreat. Many have signed up. There is still opportunity to do that. So if you can, it'll be a great time to be able to get together to rest, reflect on what's going on. So thank you for that. And if you have any questions about that, I think Jake is probably the right person to see. All right, moving on to once a quarter, we present to you the financial condition of Pinecrest. So if we're ready for that, I see it up on the charts right now. Let me get into that if I could. Just to review a little bit about 2024, you know that we have our missions and our local ministries that we supported, and we just talked about a few of those. In fact, you saw evidence of that earlier about Romania and where we went. And so in 2024, when you look at all of our 4 ministries, we raised through your efforts and contributions a little over $87,000 to support those efforts all over the world. I want to spend just a few minutes just talking about 2025, looking at the current contributions that you've been so kind to make with respect to the ministries and missions that we have. And so year-to-date through November 1st or so, we're running about $61,000. So we're a little bit behind where we were full year last year, like $26,000. We expect a strong fourth quarter in terms of giving and gifting back to Pinecrest, and so hopefully we can make up that and keep our ministries and missions on a sound financial condition. So again, thank you for that. I want to go on to talk about how we did in 2024. Most of you might remember that we had a budget of $562,000 and some change last year in 2024. We actually took in nearly $572,000. So we actually ended last year with about a $9,000 surplus in the finances for the church. Amen. Yes. Now, let me... There's always this good news, and then what else is Jack going to say, right? So in 2025 so far, We have a budget this year of $487,000. We have giving so far of about $472,000. So as of the beginning of November, we've got a deficit of about $14,000 to $15,000, which I'm hoping that our membership will be able to help us bring that deficit down, so as we go into 2026, we'll be on even sounder financial condition. Thanks so much if you can do that and help us erase that deficit, and going on to continue the gifts that you've given so much of, so we can finish 2025 in a strong manner. Still 2 months to go, so let me move on to the next chart, which is really a great one in terms of debt reduction. So year-to-date, Q3, we started in 2025 with a little over $633,000 in debt. Our current debt is now down to $548,000, which means we've reduced our total debt as a church by a little over $85,000 during 2025. That's got to be great news. So moving on to the last chart that I have for this, land sale. Good news is the land sale has cleared all Douglas County major requirements. That is an awesome accomplishment. Right now, we are on the schedule with the Douglas County Commissioners, of which there are 3, to approve and finalize the sale of the property that we have out just west of us. So we're hoping at that December meeting, we can come back with even better news about what's happened with respect to the sale and the finalization of that. Our current debt, as I said before, was $548,000. The land sale is approximately $500,000 in value. We have $50,000 that we have currently in reserve. So the bottom line is, once the land sale clears, we will be mortgage debt-free. That is awesome. So continue your prayers and continue your giving as best you can. And I want to thank you for that very much. And now I want to bring up Janet, because I know what you want to do. You want to get to the eating part of this day. So here she comes.
Good morning, Pinecrest. We have quite a few chilies that we need to try. We have 10 reds, 4 greens, and 2 specialty chilies, or creative. If you would like to sample each chili, we have small little bowls out there with spoons. If you'd like to have more, we have larger bowls. Your choice. If you like one and don't like the other, help yourself to another one. We have plenty. So I hope everybody's hungry, and go Broncos.
All right, a little bit of question for David in terms of chairs and whatnot.
Yep.
We are stacking a chair.
So, all right, one other quick thing. I just want to make a quick, make sure there's no confusion around what's happening with Douglas County. Because I've had a few people ask me, why do we have to ask Douglas County to allow us to sell our land? And the answer is we don't, but we have to ask them to subdivide our land, which is the process that we're going through. So as soon as that division is done, then we'll be able to sell the land, which we've been ready to do for 2 years. So, but that's fantastic news, isn't it? All right, are you ready to eat? Yes. We're gonna have some food. Okay, here's the things we got to do. We got to clear the chairs and set up tables. So we need to stack the chairs so that we can unstack the chairs. All right. So we got to stack the chairs so that we can bring in tables, and there's a bunch of tables out on this wing. We're setting up all the food on this side of the church. The chili's on this side. All the potluck food is on this side. I have already sampled the meat, and it is amazing. I mean, it's terrible. You don't want any. Make sure you leave some for everybody else. So if you would give us some help with stacking chairs and getting tables set up, guys. But here's the most important thing. If you have children in children's ministry, go get them now. Rescue those teachers before they start giving your children to somebody else, all right? Well, let's go. Let's have some fun. Thank you, sir. Yep. Awesome.
This all God, this ain't no. I used to be stuck in that, but yeah, I was down, but now I'm up. I was down, but now I'm up. Yeah, this all God, this ain't no love. Yeah, I used to be stuck in that, Pitch it, it's out of the park. Moving so quick, it's like they stuck in park. They see the numbers, but I see the heart. 10,000 hours, you spit in the dark. Putting in good work, even though you didn't even know that it would work. Talking about a man who grew up in woodwork. Do it for the love of it, that's the way it should work. Yeah, yeah. I know some people gon' look at me crazy, and I'm like, for what? Man, I was stuck. I was down, but now I'm up. Yeah. It's all God, this ain't no love. Yeah. I used to be stuck in that mud. Yeah. Yeah, I was down, but now I'm up, 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 up. I was down, but now I'm
Down, now I'm up like a seesaw. When I'm on a beat like an old man's lawn, better keep off. From the ground to the treetops. Black clouds on my feet like Jack in the beast. I jumped off quick, went straight in a free fall. Cowboy hat and a mic singing yeehaw. Landed on my feet like a feline. Put 'em back in the seat like a recline. Ay, what you mean I'm not worthy? Did it with a purpose, didn't need a permit. Digging from the bottom and I brought it to the surface. Mind your business now, who I worship. Who the little guy making big, big, big moves. Tick tock, turn it to a tick, 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 boom. Yeah, I talk a lot of stuff. Probably thought it was a bluff. Till I went and turned it where?
I was down, but now I'm up. Let's go. Yeah. It's all God, this ain't no love. Yeah. I used to be stuck in that mud. Yeah. I was down, but now I'm up, 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 up. I was down, but now I'm up.
Yeah, I don't always feel it. Yeah, but that's when I need it the most. So I'm gonna keep on singing till my soul catches up with my song. There's times when my hands go up freely, times that it calls. And there's days when the praise comes out easy, days when it takes all the strength I got. I'll bring my heart, heartfelt, been through hell, hallelujah. I'll bring my storm tossed, torn self story to tell, hallelujah.
In their division, Texans looking for a win today, and D'Amico Ryan's hoping they get that to get back in the playoff picture. Before we kick this one off, time to say hello to the third member of our crew, Allison Williams.
Hey there, Kevin. Well, you know, if you want to win, you got to win at the line of scrimmage, and Denver has been doing that on both sides of the ball, and it's showing up big time with their sack numbers. Their defense leads the NFL with 36 sacks, offense giving up a league fewest 8. That's giving them a historically good sack differential of plus 28, and Bo Nix said it is a huge reason for the team's success. It was instilled in him at a young age. Sacks are the underrated drive killer. If you can limit them, throw it away, find the completion, you will eventually find points. And with the players coming